are back with Christine's husband, Christopher. Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So, when did you meet Christine? You guys have been married for how many years?
For 27 years.
27 years. So,
Yes.
Tell us about your meeting. You don't have to get too romantic about it. But...
Oh, I wanted to.
Okay, go ahead.
I had so much fun with Christine when I first met her, and she has such a beautiful smile and was so fun to be around. So it was really easy to connect with her.
Where was this?
We were right in the North Seattle in Linwood, and I met her at a store where she was working, and was fond of her and asked her out, and we went to the Puget Sound and we had a barbecue and we just started to hang out and do things together, and we had a lot of fun.
So did you think of her as very dynamic? Like she's very versatile, can swing a machete, yet be, fun and cute? Or, when was the first sign that you were like, oh, she's a lot more different than I thought?
Yes. She seemed like I grew up in a family of all boys.
Oh.
So my understanding of how
female.
Sure, my understanding of how women operated continues to be a mystery to this day. So
oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Yeah. So she did have. I caught her with having fits of rage.
Okay.
Where one time she was stomping a box of Alka-Seltzer into the dust, and it was because something had fallen out of the cupboard. We were in a camper.
Okay.
And I opened up the camper door and she was having this stomping fit. And, that was kind of rage that seemed peculiar, but it was because something fell out of it and I could understand. So I was always trying to fit it together like, oh, she is a master of making excuses, and I was very receptive to her excuse making, and it helped me to create a sense that, okay, this is normal. But when I look back in hindsight, of course, it's like, that was not normal. That's not normal behavior. People don't do this.
Yeah. Well, I guess what I'm laughing at is men providing, and then, if you came from a bunch of men, you're like, oh, that's just a normal woman. We hear about women how they're all crazy. So that's what I'm laughing about. So
I don't know. I was just so in love that really kept me from. I never had any considerations of breaking it off with Christine, because she was very moody. In the way that she could be. Now it's easy. She was very aggressive basketball player. We loved to play hoops together, and she could knock everybody out of the way, and it was just this aggressiveness that a few hours later she was soft and afraid and shy or fearful of the simplest things. So it was hardest for me to put it together. So I was sort of, for me, I didn't allow very well. I was trying to push her and force her to get over it. Yeah. I did a lot of that, where I would talk to her, and my anxiety would create this sort of just this craziness that she didn't need, but she put up with it.
So go ahead.
Yeah, and so she would always bounce back within a few hours or a little bit of time and be the normal Christine that I knew, and I just thought she sort of had a moment. I was aware of some difficult child abuse and difficult issues, not completely aware, but was getting some inklings of what might have been triggering some of her issues.
So let's look at when you learned about the diagnosis, or that she. So what was the change? How did that impact you? And that was 10 years ago. Is that right?
Close to 10 years, maybe 9 years ago. 2006, I think, is when it was revealed to me in a therapy session. Well, before that, we had been in therapy together quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Chris longer than me, but there was a lot of things going on that were were really making it difficult to understand her, why she wasn't getting better, why she continued to at times unravel. Her life was kind of coming apart, and it just didn't was making less and less sense to me. So the diagnosis that she had multiple personalities at that moment made sense.
Yeah.
This makes sense to me now. And so then it's like, okay, now I have a way to kind of retrace what might have been going on, creating these situations that didn't make any sense to me before. So it was sort of an answer. And
how'd that feel? Because I mean, whenever I go to the doctor and it's like, oh, it's a mosquito bite, and so something, I'm like, oh yes, yeah. I know what it is. So what was your...
Well, immediately I was introduced to Tristan and Chrissy, 2 alters.
Mm-hmm. And Tristan is a 20-year-old male, and
Chrissy is a 6 or 7-year-old girl. And when they came out during the same therapy session that I was told about.
And you've never heard their voices before?
No.
Oh.
No. They introduced themselves to me, and I then immediately had a family. And so it went straight from one thing to the next.
A wife to maybe a daughter and nephew, or
or a son.
Or son, okay.
He's a son to me. And there wasn't too much time for me to do anything but to then become a father.
Yeah.
To this family I had. And that I think that kind of made it wasn't me and Chris all the time having these discussions about how could you have kept this from me, and it was just so much of a collaborating on, okay, not only are Chrissy and Tristan out now, but then there's 4 or 5 other alters that are around and participating, and so I never was anything but just really interested.
Yeah.
And accepting.
Mm-hmm.
I accepted with open arms, and that's, I don't know.
So great to hear. Yeah.
Just as my nature. But it's a testament to the loving part of being in love with Chris all my life, and continuing to sort of have an aha moment. She has multiple personalities. Now what the heck do we do? It was our problem kind of to deal with, and it still continues to be our issue that we've worked really hard at dealing and on a daily basis tendering to the different issues that come up. And it's been a lot of fun. In a lot of ways, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds exhausting, but it sounds fun. So in terms of, so now that everybody is out and feels accepted and has a chance to surface, can you take us through a morning routine, or you work at night, so I don't know what morning, I don't know.
Yeah, I work a swing shift, mm-hmm. So it's after lunch that I start getting ready for work. So I have mornings, and a lot of times the alters and my wife get up. Sometimes the alters get up earlier than my wife. You see, my wife Christine can get her sleep, mm-hmm. and an alter can wake up and get Christine's body out of bed and come out and have breakfast or play games or read books.
What does that look like? Because so whenever you are home, what does that look like? Take us through a scenario of getting up, I guess. Because who brushes their teeth? I know that, is it that Chrissy, who's 6 or 7, yes. decorates the body, who picks out the clothes. And so can you take us through, 45 minutes of something? Not actual 45 minutes, but...
Right. Well, I normally am up having coffee, mm-hmm. and I can see Christine's body come out, and from the different physical characteristics, they each move differently. Chrissy walks differently, and definitely sounds different, and so they'll tell me, hey, they'll say, hey, how's it going? What's happening? I'm hungry. Chrissy will want breakfast and want breakfast cereal, and so I'll just start to. I love to cook, and I'm in the kitchen all the time.
Yay, guys who cook!
Making sure everybody's fed, and so I sort of like to just participate in whatever they have going on, and so that's really rewarding to me, to be able to maybe we sit down on the couch, we get our hot drinks and sit and watch a little TV or watch a show and just sort of have this really neat family time together. There normally isn't too many mornings where we have to really get cracking and get going. But if the situation is urgent in the morning, maybe we're getting ready to hit the road or go do some errands, then she will take charge.
She is the lesbian who's how old?
40 or
something,
give or take.
Strong.
And right, and very, very organized, kind of has a clear idea of what has to get done, and
so she'll play that role on. All right.
Yeah. If there's something that has to be gotten out of the car, she'll get the shoes on and throw something on and go out and do the hard things that have to get done. And Tristan takes care of laundry.
And he's the 20-year-old male.
Yes, and so Tristan will make sure there's clean clothes, and he'll look at the laundry door and say, "Hey, who left my office door open?" And so, if anybody's been in the laundry room and didn't close the door, he's who pipes in and says that. But so everybody has their details and their chores around the house that need to get done, and it's fun to just be a part of that. I have my chores too, so we have just a really cohesive, well orchestrated operation that happens, and it can go on for 45 minutes, but it can go on all morning long. And my wife normally is awake too, and up by then after a little while, or it's not. And my wife is always hardly ever sleeps through the day and is vacated from the body while the altars operate all day. The altars will operate for large periods of time, maybe all morning, but it's because Q will sit down and do beading at her beading station that's in our dining room kitchen area, or Tristan will be eating my good food that I cook, because he really
needs protein.
Yeah,
right?
And he likes to squawk when he's hungry.
He likes to squawk?
Yeah.
What's that mean?
That's all he has to say, and I know it's time to get going on some meat, or cook some sausage, or make him something to eat, or heat up some leftovers.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of, sometimes there's caretaking to do with Cindy. She's Cindy, the 2-year-old, and she likes to get to have time with me and her sister and do artwork and get to do look at the birds that are outside our window that we feed, or watch cartoons. And if she knows that there's something going on, if we're going to leave, she kind of wants to know, because she doesn't like to go to work. And work is when Q has a job to do a few days a month.
And she goes beading.
Yeah, and Cindy's bored to death going. So whenever we're going off to the store, Cindy is just in tears and really shook up about it. And so there's some sort of taking care of the baby, so letting her know that.
How does that work? So, I mean, is that your job, or is that one of the altars to try and coax internally?
Exactly. That's a lot of what happens, is they prep Cindy by letting her know a day ahead of time, and console her internally quite often. And Cindy likes to, though, be out with me and sort of over dramatize the stress that it is for her to deal with going to. She's so disappointed, and she does all her. She just goes, or she rolls her eyes, and she gives a stink face, and she cries and whimpers, and it's just sort of one of the things that we do. But I love Cindy and her. We encourage her to do that, so that, because she's learning to express herself and use her words, and she's come from being pre-verbal 5 or 6 years ago when Cindy first showed up on the scene, to now she can actually construct some sentences and put words together to help us understand what's happening for her. And it's helping her stay calm. It's helping. A lot of times we have sirens go by, or loud motorcycles will go by, and she can be in a fit, and really it can be really disruptive to what we're trying to achieve. And so it's been a work in progress that's made a huge difference for my wife to have some techniques to help keep all of the alters under all circumstances with an awareness and an understanding to what to do and what's allowable. So it's
manageable.
Yeah.
So who do you spend most of your time with?
I spend a lot of time with Q, because Q sits and beads and makes product, and it surprises me how much time we spend together.
Okay.
But Q is sitting usually just a few feet away at her bead station, and she's able to do her work, and the other alters and are able to have a conversation with me or converse with me. I can ask anyone questions. But Q is able to multitask and pay close attention to whatever I'm listening to on the radio or whatever might be on the television. And as I might be cooking or getting my lunch ready or getting whatever, doing some work around on the computer. And so it's very interactive, but it does seem to be that Q has become an integral part of my life. And recently Q has described me as a friend, and I told her, I said, Q, I really consider us as family. Mm-hmm. And so we thought about it and we talked, and now it's clear that Q will introduce me as her brother-in-law.
Oh, okay. That is really interesting.
Yeah.
So what about now, do you sense any jealousy from Christine because you do spend time with Q, or?
Right. There's very little jealousy that doesn't get shared with Christine and myself.
Okay.
In times when we have private time.
Okay.
There's the ability to block so that Christine and I can be alone.
Okay.
Which is a godsend, a gift of the mind, but an integral tool that's made it work for us.
Okay.
And it's in these times when Christine might share that she's maybe a little bit jealous or a little bit feeling deprived, or whatever, heartfelt emotions and feelings that are common. But from 9 years ago, when they first were revealed to me, there was a big struggle for being out, and a big learning curve, because for Christine, my wife, normally felt pretty sure that she was going to be out most of the time.
Okay.
And at that time when the other alters were allowed to then be out in public, her time became then sharing time with these other alters who not internal anymore, but we're out in public with me. And so sharing my time and me giving my attention to the altars and to Chrissy and to Cindy. And it was it took a lot of time for Christine to sort of get over that jealousy and that feeling of being deprived, and to come to an understanding that it was what Christine wanted to have happen, and that it was what was happening, and we were just going to have to work through it, and we have really, really well. And so there's very little jealousy anymore that I can tell. She hasn't shared with me any concerns about it.
Fascinating, to say the least. So in terms of babysitting, do you find, do you babysit, or what does that mean? Or do others babysit, or?
Yeah. I picture that we have a very small number of adult friends and family that are close enough that they interact with the altars and Christine in a way that everyone feels safe and comfortable. And that provides a great deal of relief for me, because I can go see family or friends or do something on the weekend and stay overnight and know that they have another adult that they can feel very comfortable with.
Okay.
And so in a way, that's, I don't want to call it babysitting, but it's more like just having
a
friends
companion, yeah,
and companions that help them. And so that's been really nice. The altars, she and Rim and Q and Tristan are internal babysitters for sure.
Okay.
And they, so that Christine can do her public speaking and can attend classes in the speaking academy or do this interview now, there is some babysitting that goes on for them internally.
Okay.
And so as far as I'm concerned, I just, my babysitting has been to try to spend as much time as I can in contact with them, so that I'm with them, or whenever I'm at home, and I oftentimes will be working in the yard or doing things where I'm nearby. That's very comforting to them to know that I'm nearby. And they've gotten used to me working I work full time. I work through the evenings. So in the evenings they're on their own.
Oh, okay.
They're on their own, and they do really well. They never have so much of a difficult time that they would need to call me and get me home from work, or call a neighbor.
Great.
Emergencies have died way down from when it was really difficult in years past.
Okay. So what do you think is most important for people to know about multi-personalities?
Well, the questions that I get from people trigger in me a response that this is why we share our family, because it's providing comfort for people who were afraid of a person with multiple personalities, or who didn't know anything about it and
did not know.
We're delighted to have the experience of getting to know. And I think one experience was of a book club where 8 or 10 other women in this book club had all read the book and were coming from all different perspectives, but each one was sincerely impacted by the book, and impacted because of how they interpreted what they were reading, and could take from it kind of overlay it into their own life and their own situations. And some were pretty serious situations of mental illness in their family, how they caretake others with it, or in the family that they have to deal with mental illness. And so it really is a rewarding experience to know that it's having an impact. I have fun with the idea that I'm not so sure what it is exactly that I want to see, how it impacts people, but I love how it is impacting, and how I keep receiving these indications that it's having a powerful impact in supporting people that are really troubled.
Yeah.
And it's really neat to have Christine shares her blog, and I get to write in the blog when I have a powerful story of the day or experience, and people are able to at least share and respond to her blog and feel a connection. Maybe it's preventing someone. I know that Christine had suicidal ideation a long time ago, when she was really stuck.
Yeah.
She was keeping it all inside. She was never could really face the possibility of telling me that she had multiple personalities, and she just was exhausted and was nearing a point where she doesn't really believe that she would be alive now had she not gone through the fear of disclosing it to me and her therapist, and then move through the difficult time of now what, and so it saved my wife's life.
Yeah, and I'm sure by talking about it more and the other people who have responded, it'll probably save theirs, or at least make it less painful. It's really courageous. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
I will be one of those people who is now more accepting, because I actually didn't know anything about it. But there are some movies I'm going to be watching. So